What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video, and today it is time that we do a post-mortem video of what happened yesterday. In particular, the Kentucky primaries and the Jacksonville mayoral election. Now, Pennsylvania also had a couple elections, but that's going to be its own separate video, and I may do a stream later today, so be on the lookout for that, but for sure there will be a second video today discussing the Pennsylvania Supreme Court race, because that's kind of its outside of its own, sphere, I guess. But we're going to be discussing what happened in Kentucky and Jacksonville, because it relates very well to 2024. I cannot believe I'm saying that this early, but yeah, this was a proxy war that happened in Kentucky, and in Jacksonville, a separate thing. And to say this was a disaster for Ron DeSantis is an understatement. This was a complete failure for Governor DeSantis in many states last night. Not just Kentucky, but his own state. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter accounts in the description down below. Guys, go follow Real American Politics on Twitter. It is a great Twitter account that I recommend you follow. Of course, follow the Rumble page for exclusive content. And of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $3 a month, you can join Real American, which is a phenomenal deal, as it helps support the daily content we all know and love. You love the daily content? Well, this is the best way to support it. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Alright, let's get into it. The post-mortem of last night's primaries. Just Kentucky and Jacksonville for this. We'll do Pennsylvania probably later today, but you get the point. So Kentucky, it was essentially a proxy war between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. The Trump-endorsed Daniel Cameron, the Attorney General, very well liked, fairly good on the issues, versus the Ron DeSantis-endorsed Kelly Craft, the donor class candidate, and she sucked on the issues. I don't get it. Why did DeSantis endorse Craft? Was it just to spite Trump? Either way, it backfired. Look at this. Cameron got 47.7% of the vote. Kelly Craft got 17. 17. When most polls not only showed her within like 5 or 6 points, she was in second in every single poll. She took third after she received the DeSantis endorsement. You have to be the most delusional person in the world to claim that this isn't a bad thing for DeSantis. This is a disaster. A complete and total disaster. Optically, it just shows DeSantis, it seems like he doesn't have the influence certain people are making out sound like he has. But here's the thing. This vindicates one thing. Primary polls. At least as of now. And it could change and yada yada. You get the point. But the primary polling in Kentucky showed DeSantis only at 17%, while Trump was at around 70%. Alright? Do some basic math. What percent did Kelly Craft get? 17. Combine Quiller's and Cameron's numbers. The Agriculture Commissioner and Attorney General Cameron. Combine the two. Because they did very similar in parts of the state. They did very similar margins. It seems like they had very similar voters. That's just basically what I'm seeing. Guess what? That's around 70%. So as of now, the first real proxy war, it appears that Donald Trump, is really up by 50-some points in Kentucky as of now. And this may point to the other national polling, which shows Trump sometimes at 60-some%. That may be true also. It was a disaster for Governor DeSantis. I mean, Kelly Craft had no reason to take third, let alone get crushed. This isn't like Nebraska, where the person that took third lost by a point. She lost by 30. 30. And Well, she had everything. She had tens of millions of dollars spent, while Cameron spent like $1 million. She spent tens of millions of dollars attacking Cameron. All right? Just do some basic math. She had the endorsement of Ted Cruz, of Ron DeSantis. Yeah, you would have thought that the DeSantis endorsement matters a lot to people. That's what some of these people are saying on Twitter, that Governor DeSantis has so much influence and he's going to crush Trump. Yeah, about that. She underperformed polling after DeSantis endorsed her. And now people, they're changing the narrative. Oh, this was a 7D chess move by DeSantis to get financial support. What? Excuse me? Now it's a 7D chess move to lose by 30? Just admit it. DeSantis doesn't have the numbers to win the primary. That your delusional theories that he's actually secretly ahead are baloney. They're complete BS. Because if DeSantis truly had this real, truly influential, endorsement, why did Kraft not crack 20%? She should have got at least 30%. It's a travesty what happened in Kentucky to DeSantis' career. Because it vindicates everything we've been saying. Trump's going to be the nominee as of now. He's polling in the high 60s in some areas. You can't beat that mathematically. You just can't. It was a disaster in Kentucky. So I still don't get this endorsement. Why did DeSantis endorse her? Just for donations? If that's the case, DeSantis is a bigger idiot than I thought. And I don't want to believe it. I believe he's still a smart guy, but I'm starting to wonder what's going on. But that's not all. There was a bigger disaster for DeSantis last night. And it happened in his own state. I give props to the Florida GOP for a lot of things, but they blew it last night. That's a very rare L what happened. They lost Jacksonville. Yep, they just lost the Jacksonville mayor election by very similar margins as Trump did in 2020. In spite of a more favorable environment, it was like an R+3 electorate. That's what I believe it was. It was R+3. And Trump wasn't involved. He was not involved. He didn't endorse a Republican. He didn't even say a word about this race. And the almighty Ron DeSantis endorsed Daniel Davis. But guess what? It didn't matter. They lost by 4 when basically everybody thought it was probably going to be close. But Daniel Davis was probably going to win. How did that turn out? And I'm not saying Trump would have magically swung this race 5 points. I'm not saying that. But some people need to realize, no, what happened in 2022 really wasn't Trump's fault, it looks like. How can you explain this when the almighty Trump wasn't involved, but DeSantis was? But that's not the worst part. DeSantis didn't do a single frickin' event for this guy. Not one. He was more focused going to Israel and Japan and Iowa than he was on this race. And now we're hearing some egregious coping by DeSimps on Twitter. Now they're blaming this on Trump. You heard that right. Trump not once talked about this race. Not once endorsed anybody. Because this is Jacksonville. This is a more establishment city. Which is true. Jacksonville has been trending more Democrat. It isn't, it isn't your traditional, blue collar or nationalist city. It's a more establishment Republican city. That's true. So Trump stood out of it. And well, it kind of proves a lot of these points are baloney about what happened in 2022. Trump wasn't involved. DeSantis was the only one who endorsed him. And he still lost by 4. Very similar to what Trump did in 2020. So, how they blame this on Trump? Because secretly, there was a campaign advisor that works for Trump, that was advising the Davis campaign. And they told him, do not talk to DeSantis, do not work with him, yada yada. Supposedly. But at the same time, look at Daniel Davis's website. The very first thing. Proven conservative, endorsed by Governor Ron DeSantis. Daniel Davis is a proven law and order conservative. Jacksonville needs to tackle the city's greatest challenges and seize its biggest opportunities. I am proud to endorse Daniel Davis for mayor because I trust him to fight for Jacksonville's hardworking families, and I know he will stand with the city's brave men and women in the law enforcement. So you're telling me, this is what the Simps are saying on Twitter. This isn't what I believe. That they're delusional, but what they're claiming is secretly they got Trump DeSantis' endorsement, but they refused to campaign with him, and they told him, get away, do not get involved in this race, but still got him to endorse him, to secretly spite him, to help Trump in 2023. What? You think I'm kidding? Look it up. They're blaming Susan Wild that she secretly did this to sink DeSantis' chances. Yada, yada, yada. Even though she was endorsed by DeSantis. And they never talked to Trump. If this was such a big thing to secretly spite DeSantis, why didn't they get Trump to endorse him? And then do a rally for him? And if he would have won, they would have said, that's because of Trump. Nope, they didn't. Because that narrative is baloney. And plus, why is it suddenly now they figure it out? If it was a problem beforehand, why didn't they mention it? Why? Because it dispels many narratives. Let's be real. Last night was an L for DeSantis. Oh my gosh. Trump's person was running their campaign, yada yada. Okay. Still, doesn't explain why he avoided Jacksonville like the plague. He endorsed him, but never said anything. He didn't even go to Jacksonville to do a get out the vote operation. He didn't even do that. He did more events in Iowa. He did more events in Israel. Across the frickin' world from here. Than he did in Jacksonville. Not even a basic, get out the vote or, fundraiser. Nothing. He did nothing for this Daniel Davis for the past month and a half. So, good job. A lot of narratives are destroyed about DeSantis being some electoral juggernaut and Trump's the one that's costing us the suburbs. Really? Because it sure looks like Trump costed us Jacksonville, even though he never got involved, never said anything, didn't do a rally, but this was the DeSantis-endorsed candidate who outspent the Democrat 5-1. And Jacksonville, it is still a 50-50 city. I mean, the same night, and it doesn't show here sadly, but guess what? Republicans won the city at large seat. And I don't believe that candidate was endorsed by DeSantis. What does that tell you? Is it that DeSantis is some electoral juggernaut? It's starting to look like that narrative's falling apart. But anyways, folks, again, I don't like to do this, but when some people blame Trump constantly, then suddenly some of them are saying that he should have got involved, or DeSantis is still perfect, yada yada. I had enough. This was an L last night for DeSantis. It proved many of the electability arguments are baloney. When his candidate takes third in Kentucky, when the endorsed candidate in Jacksonville gets walloped, considering it's an R+3 electorate, no reason to lose that race when you outspent the Democrat like 5-1. It was a big, fat L for Team DeSantis, and they're still going on about it. Now they're going to blame Susan Wild, even though DeSantis himself in 2018, look this up, said Susan Wild was a big reason we won this election. He worked for the DeSantis campaign. He worked for Rick Scott in 2010 when he won an upset. He worked for Trump's 2016 Florida campaign. She's one of the bigger names in Florida. It was a disaster what happened to Team DeSantis last night, but they're still going out their delusional theories that DeSantis is still some electoral juggernaut. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed. to all of you.